SE Scoops had another big scoop this week. This one has not completely been borne out yet, but where there is smoke, there is fire. Jim Ross and Chris Jericho are said to be working with agent Barry Bloom in laying the groundwork for a new wrestling promotion backed by the billionaire owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Shahid Khan is one of the richest men on the planet. His son Tony is a big-time wrestling fan. He is the one apparently who has been the most hands-on in this process of trying to put things together. It is said that JR, his contract with WWE, is expiring shortly and that he declined an offer from them to renew, and that he has been sending feelers out to certain WWE performers while Jericho has been working on the New Japan talent. Cody Rhodes, Hangman Page, the Young Bucks are all said, reportedly, to be on board with the idea of joining this would-be promotion. I'm not sure where Kenny Omega stands in all this. Supposedly the Khans, they understand that they are going to have to burn through a ton of money at first to get this thing off the ground. They are prepared to do that. They say that now. The planned launch would be late 2019, early 2020, so this is still a ways off. And supposedly talks are underway with Access TV for a TV deal. Now, a rep for Access came out after the report was published, and they denied the report. They said that at least as far as the Access part of this is concerned, they said that is not true. Which, again, just because they say it's not true doesn't mean that it is. But it is telling that, from what I've seen, they are the only ones so far, and there's a lot of very specific names mentioned in this report. From what I've seen so far, they are the only ones, as of Sunday here, to come out and publicly comment, publicly deny the report. Nobody else has done that. We have not heard from Jim Ross. We have not heard from Chris Jericho. I know that SE Scoops has reached out to other parties as well, have gotten no comment from them either. I think that's very telling. Now, Jason Powell of ProWrestling.net has since confirmed parts of the report in that Tony Khan is the one heading up all of the discussions. It's not his father. His father, I guess, he would be the money man, money mark. I guess you could probably call him that. Powell says it's been in the discussion stages for a while now. He reached out via DM to Tony Khan back on September 12th for comment. Khan never responded back to him. There are parts of this that, you read it and initially I have a hard time buying into. Like Jim Ross, for example. Do I think Jim Ross would even want to be in the position of having anything to do with launching or wrestling? Not wrestling. Launching or sort of running any aspect of a new company. And again, he's not a young guy anymore. I mean, he's kind of getting up there in years. It's hard for me to buy into that, or even the idea that he's actively trying to poach talent from WWE or possibly tamper with contracts. I'm not saying that's what's happening here, but you read that he is sort of sending feelers out to certain talents, and that's how it reads. It could be, but I don't know. It's tough to see that. Jericho trying to lure talent from New Japan. To me, that wouldn't be a very nice way of saying thank you to his friend Ghetto. But for Cody and the Bucks and all those guys, this could be a way for them to stick together without going to WWE. If those guys could get themselves big money deals, you've got this billionaire family potentially funding this project. If you can get yourself some big money deals and be featured as the top stars when this thing launches, this brand new promotion, if it gets itself a TV deal, then it's a sweet deal for everybody involved. And believe me, it's going to make them that much more valuable later on to WWE, whether it flops or whether this thing takes off. Believe me, it's not like WWE is all of a sudden, if Cody and the Bucks and these guys decide to link up with a project like this and 6 months or a year later it fails and these guys have no place to go, it's not like WWE is going to build a wall and stop them from coming into the company. If anything, they're going to want them even more, I would think. So if I were them, I wouldn't be worried so much about that. My thing is this. Here's my thing with this. I think it's great that Access Television has New Japan Pro Wrestling on its station, and it's very supportive of pro wrestling. But for people with visions in their head of another, billionaire competing with Vince McMahon, if the best these guys can do at the end of the day is Access Television, then this thing is not going to go anywhere. For this to work on that scale, this has to go to a major cable station or network television, and it's not going to network television. So it needs to go to a TBS or a TNT. It needs to go, I think, to an established station that is in as many homes as possible. That, to me, is where you make the biggest impact. And if you want this thing to maybe have a chance of really catching fire, it's got to go to a network like that. I mean, you could say, well, WWE went to TNN back when it was still the Nashville network, and they were relaunching that whole network. And they went to TNN and, help that station kind of grow its profile and get even bigger. Why can't these guys do the same? Go to a smaller network and grow it into something bigger. Well, the reason is because WWE had 50 years of history behind it. WWE was an established brand. It was a proven television commodity. This is a startup. That's very different. That is, if this even happens. But the SE Scoops report, it does have legs. Do not dismiss it. It does have legs to it. We'll just have to wait and see if JR or Jericho have anything to say about it on their podcast this week. To me, nothing short of a full-throated denial will do here. This was not some vague, random internet report. It was a very specific report with very specific names and very specific dates and details. And I'm very curious to see how, if at all, they react to it. I would imagine it's still in the very early stages, and they don't want to say anything about it right now for fear of it falling apart or jeopardizing the whole thing. But if this were to happen, it would be the best thing for the wrestling business. The only way to compete with somebody like Vince McMahon is with money. Money and TV are the two key things here. If you have the financial backing that allows you to absorb all of those, the necessary losses in starting up a new promotion, and we're talking tens of millions of dollars. It costs a lot of money to do something like that, which is why it hasn't happened yet. Since WCW died, we haven't had, a company or a family or an entity come along that has had, that kind of money and has been willing to say, okay, we'll take X amount of losses for however many years. Now, you had TNA. Now, the Carter family has a lot of money. I think they're an oil family, but they had a lot of money behind them, and boy, did they absorb a lot of losses over a very long time. So you could say, well, Impact was that promotion because there's a company that had money behind it, and they ended up on a network like Spike TV. So yes, you would be right. We've seen this before with Impact, and look where that got them. That shows you how difficult it is. You can't just snap your fingers just because you have money and expect that it's going to be a success, which is the other thing I was going to say here, is that it isn't just about money. It's about putting the right people in place to make this thing work. But if something like this were to really succeed, it would be, a true alternative for people. It would be an alternative place for people to go work. Instead of WWE just signing up everybody they can just to keep them from going to other places. I mean, why do you think they're signing so much talent? Part of the reason why is they want to keep them away from some of these other promotions that are bubbling up. Why do you think the whole NXT UK thing came about? They see what's going on in the UK. World of Sport, all these other different promotions. They want a piece of the pie, and they want to prevent people from going and working on, other promotions that have TV. Let's snatch everybody up. It's smart. I'll give them that. But boy, it would be nice if these people had some other place to go, not named WWE, that was able to, pay them a pretty good wage and truly be an alternative place for them to go work. Now, I'm not naive enough to think that the chances are good that this thing is going to become some massive success, because history would say otherwise. How many times do we hear about big new wrestling promotions starting up? I get press releases in my inbox. I'm on these different mailing lists. And from time to time, I'll get an announcement or a press release. This promotion is starting up. It's going to be a big deal. And then I never hear about them again. This happens constantly. Or they say, well, we're just waiting on that big TV deal. Look at Jeff Jarrett and Global Force Wrestling. How long was that guy waiting to get that big TV deal? That big TV deal never came. They taped weeks worth of television out in Las Vegas. I think it was about a year ago, probably. and didn't have anywhere to air it because they never got that TV deal that they were hoping for. So now he's a travel agent. Now it's a travel agency now. The odds are against this working, but it's not impossible. And I would love for there to be another real alternative with weekly television and some big money behind it.